By the end of Bloodshot, Ray Garrison is finally starting to piece together his past, his real past. Who was Ray before he became Bloodshot? How did he die in the first place? And what's this all building to anyway? We've got the answers. Well, most of them anyway. In Bloodshot, most of what we learn about Ray Garrison simply isn't true. The daring hostage rescue that opens the film is a fabricated hero module designed to give him confidence. His relationship with Gina ended 5 years ago. She wasn't killed. She wasn't even his wife.
They've been manipulating you.
So by the end of the movie, what do we know about him? Well, going off a few stray lines of dialogue, we can safely say that Ray really was part of the military. Gina, the real one, notes that Ray kept leaving on classified missions. He might have come home every time, but Gina couldn't deal with him leaving in the first place. That's why their relationship ended. We also know that Ray has a keen sense of justice, a righteous temper, and doesn't let go of a grudge. Bloodshot's whole thesis, which is summed up at the end of the movie, is that memories don't make the man, actions do. As such, there's no reason to look backwards. The specifics of Ray's past might remain a mystery, but it doesn't matter. He's moving forward regardless. For such a brutal story, Bloodshot has a surprisingly uplifting ending. The bad guys are dead, Gina is safe and has moved on. Bloodshot's biggest limitation, the way his nanites run out of power, forcing him to stop and recharge, has been removed. Now it's just Ray, KT, Wilford Wiggins, their shared trailer, and a beautiful oceanside paradise. It's perfect, maybe a little too perfect. RST's entire scheme hinged on its ability to manipulate Ray's reality. Who's to say they're not doing it again? That's what Wilford wonders right before the film smash cuts to the credits. It's what KT implies when she says that their tropical surroundings are a dream. Wilford has a new, very different set of clothes. The final scene's warm lights and bright color palette recall Ray and Gina's trip to Italy, which was also a fantasy invented by RST. Now, this isn't Inception. Bloodshot isn't a particularly subtle movie, and we're probably supposed to take everything we see at face value. Still, if Sony wanted to open a Bloodshot sequel by revealing that this happy ending wasn't so happy after all, it wouldn't be a surprise. The groundwork has already been laid.
What you think is real sometimes ain't.
For all intents and purposes, Bloodshot is married. It's the fictional death of his fake wife, Gina, that spurs Bloodshot into action. Without that connection, false as it might be, RST's whole plan for manipulating Ray falls apart. And yet, if you thought you picked up on some sexual tension between Ray and KT in the film's final scene, you're not alone. KT totally has the hots for Ray, and it seems like Ray is starting to feel the same way. Because of the movie's premise, KT could fall in love with Ray over time, but not the other way around. Their romance had to take an unusual form. As director Dave Wilson told us, because of Bloodshot's total memory loss, this could never be a conventional love relationship. I wanted a love story that the audience didn't see coming. Of course, the movie drops plenty of hints that Bloodshot and KT are going to end up as an item. When a devastated Ray learns that nobody came to collect his body, KT reassures him that there's someone out there who loves him. At the time, you're supposed to think KT is referring to Gina, who is still alive, but no, she's talking about herself. While the film's ending doesn't reveal Bloodshot's identity, his comics do. Well, kind of. Fittingly, Bloodshot's backstory has been rebooted and retconned many times since the character's 1992 debut, and it's hard to pin down an exact origin story. Ironic, right? At least poor Ray comes by it honestly. In the first volume of Bloodshot, which was originally written by Kevin Van Hook and drawn by Don Perlin, the titular hero was revealed to be a violent mobster named Angelo Mortalli. Ruthless and driven, Mortalli was a rising star in Don Gino Canelli's crime family until Canelli learned that Mortalli was cheating on his fiancée, who just happened to be Canelli's daughter. Canelli framed Mortalli for a violent crime, forcing Mortalli into witness protection, where he was killed by a corrupt FBI agent. Rising Spirits got its hands on him shortly thereafter. The name Ray Garrison didn't enter Bloodshot canon until Volume 2 launched in 1997 as one of Bloodshot's other alternate identities. Over the years, he's had plenty of others. These days, Bloodshot assumes that Ray is his real personality and that Angelo was a cover he adopted while on a classified mission, although he doesn't know for sure. At this rate, he never will. Here's the thing though, the cinematic Bloodshot could still go the Angelo Mortalli route, assuming that the movie gets a sequel. According to former Valiant Entertainment CEO Dinesh Shamdasani, early drafts of the Bloodshot script leaned heavily into the mafia angle, and the film's lack of definite answers leaves room for Mortalli to appear in the sequel. In fact, we already have one hint that Bloodshot's ending is a little deceptive, and that Ray, or whoever he actually is, isn't exactly the stand-up guy the finale makes him out to be. During one of Bloodshot's action scenes, Dr. Harding taunts Ray by noting that the soldier signed up for the military service because he enjoys violence. Ray protests, but the evidence is all there on the screen. Let's face it, hijacking an airplane and killing half a dozen people isn't exactly a normal response to trauma.
You know nothing about men like me.
It's an interesting concept and one that could make for an interesting angle in a sequel. By the end of the movie, Bloodshot says he's done looking backwards, but learning that he was more of a villain than a hero pre-transformation could make him change his mind. Of all the different iterations of Bloodshot, the film draws the most heavily on the 2012 reboot, which really played up the entire false memories and mind control angles. In that story, Bloodshot learns that he's being manipulated fairly early on and takes the war to Rising Spirit fairly quickly. That's where the movie ends, but if Bloodshot's sequel continues down that path, then we know exactly where the story is going. In the comics, Bloodshot learns he's not Project Rising Spirit's only victim. Over the years, the project has also been kidnapping children with superpowers, who are known as Harbingers. By making Bloodshot think that the kids are in danger, Rising Spirit has been relying on the super soldier to round up the powerful little tykes. Bloodshot drops the kids off at the project's labs, where they're caged and experimented on. Then he has his memory wiped before he sets off for the next batch. Naturally, Bloodshot frees the kids when he learns what's going on, but dropping 24 superpowered children into the real world without any warning has big repercussions. In the comics, it led to a massive crossover event called Harbinger Wars. In theaters, it could lead to a similar Avengers-style event if one major obstacle doesn't get in the way. Originally, Harbinger Wars was Valiant and Sony's endgame. In 2015, The Hollywood Reporter confirmed that Bloodshot, then scheduled for 2017 release, with John Wick's Chad Stahelski and David Leitch set to direct, was going to be the first entry in Valiant's big-screen superhero universe. Harbinger would be the second. Each movie would get a sequel, and then the two franchises would cross over for the Harbinger Wars event. However, in 2019, the Harbinger movie moved from Sony to Paramount. With the characters now at two separate companies, a crossover seems increasingly unlikely. It could still happen, of course. Sony itself has already teamed up with Marvel Studios to bring Spider-Man into the MCU, although that relationship has been relatively complicated, but the chances aren't great. When we asked Bloodshot director Dave Wilson about a potential sequel, he was quick to list all the places a larger Bloodshot universe could go. There are groups and characters that I love, from Bloodsquirt to Bloodhound to Hardcore. There is enough material out there in the Valiant universe to make any number of films you want. Tellingly though, while those characters do interact with the larger Valiant universe, they're primarily Bloodshot spin-offs. At this point in time, a larger Valiant series with Bloodshot at the center seems like a fairly dicey proposition. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies and TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.